And we're back. How are you doing, Will? Will? Are you there, Will? I get I guess not. No, that's it. There's no Will this evening. It's just me. He's lost in the warp somewhere. He's got Gellerpox, or perhaps he's being possessed by some type of eh, thing. I don't know. But he's not here. It's all good though. He will be back on the next episode, which means it's going to be just me and you guys. And what we're going to do? Well, I don't know, to be absolutely honest yet. I haven't figured that out. We were just going to have a chat this evening. We'd planned to do something a little bit less structured and just chat about the hobby. And I'm kind of just going to do that, but I'm guessing it'll be more of a monologue rather than a chat. So instead, I asked on our Discord for a couple of ideas of things that would be fun to talk about, and I'm going to give my opinion on those. But also, I'm going to take a look at a range of models over on the Warhammer website. Why am I going to do that, you ask? Well, that's a very good question. And you know what? I'll tell you when I get to that segment later on. But I think you'll find it interesting because it's going to be 40k based. And well, I've not done much 40k ever really for a while. So yeah, I'll I'll talk about that for a little bit. What else am I going to do then? Well, it's good question. I'm glad you asked that one as well. I thought I would bring you guys along and I will do some of my own hobby work this weekend. And I'm going to record that, giving you my thoughts, talking to you guys as if I was, well, I suppose, in the same room as you, or, just around a table, having a night out, whatever hobby stuff comes to my mind while I'm working on my kill teams. So that's the rough idea for this episode. Let's see how it goes. I'm not confident, guys. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, that's what happens if I'm left by myself. I don't function correctly. I need input from somebody to balance me out. But since that's not gonna happen today, you're stuck with this one. Right, let's get into it. Right then, diving in headfirst, something that I've wanted to talk about for a little while, and I know I get mocked about it from Will a fair bit, and that's my opinions on some of the Warhammer art, or art, as I should say, but I'm from Yorkshire, so it's Warhammer art. Now, as you'll have known if you're a long time listener, I have opinions about the Battle Tome and the Codex covers. The current 4th edition Age of Sigmar Battle Tomes, I've not been overly impressed with some of the artwork. So when Games Workshop started publishing the retrospectives of artwork for loads of different factions over on Warhammer community, it's been something that I've been really interested in looking through myself. I'm an avid collector of Warhammer lore, memorabilia, art books, anything I can get my hands on. Really, I love diving into this stuff, and I really love exploring the visuals from a painting perspective. I like to have all of this stuff on hand so I can pore over it and I can get ideas and inspiration for how I want to paint my own armies, my own models, dioramas. And, I do enjoy doodling as well. I've always had a sketchbook close to hand ever since I was a kid. So I do immerse myself in all of this stuff. And it's come to light, I suppose, over the past couple of years, as we've talked about on podcast loads before, like this sanitization and the neutralization of all of the things that, in my opinion at least, make Warhammer for me. The things that I enjoy about it. And granted, I have been into this thing for a long time. So it does change, doesn't it? Trends change, styles, what the customer wants at the end of the day. All of those things feed into this changing landscape of what the art looks like. So it was with real interest that I opened up Warhammer Community earlier this week, and I'll put the link in the show notes. So check that out if you want to follow along with what I'm talking about here. And they had a new one of these explorations of open, and it's looking at the Skaven artwork. Now, Skaven's not something that I'm a huge fan of. Will has much stronger opinions on Skaven than myself. He's a fan of Clan Eshen, and I can get behind that. However, when I was looking at this artwork, some of it is absolutely fantastic, and I don't understand why we don't see more of this style of artwork on things like the Battletome covers. Now, thinking about what we just said there, I get that some of it's a little bit horrific. I mean, if you head over to Warhammer Community and you look at this first image, I think this is a fairly recent image and it came out alongside Scaventide as part of the Vermin Doom overarching narrative thing that's going on at the moment and possibly going to pull all of the realms back together if rumors to be believed, but we'll see about that. Now, look in the background, right? This the Great Horned Rat here, that is a fantastic rendition of that particular character. I love it. It looks absolutely terrifying. It's the level of horror that I think I would want. It genuinely looks like it's a monstrous rat thing rather than the cutesy things that we get at the moment. Now, I know this is supposed to be like their god and such, but let's look at that other first piece of artwork in a little bit more depth and just think about what it is that makes it so interesting to me. And I think I've hit the nail on the head here as I've been kind of looking through the pieces that we've got up on here. It's not necessarily the main characters that interest me and that I don't like on some of them. It's all of the surrounding things in the images. Yeah. So, what do I mean by that? In this first image, I'm loving this great horned rat we've got there, and the other bits and pieces on here, they're quite indistinct. They almost blend into the background, into the setting, into the world, and it's that what it is that I think's missing on a lot of the recent artwork that's come out. The world that the characters are set in doesn't look like it's believable. Let me give you an example, right? Years ago, when I first played Halo, the game on Xbox with Master Chief, the game was enjoyable. I had fun with it. I didn't necessarily like the enemies. I thought they were a little bit fun. But the thing that took it away from me that I didn't enjoy about the entire experience was the setting of the world. It wasn't believable. I couldn't picture this Spartan Master Chief living in these corridors and worlds that were devoid of any relevance. There was nothing about it that didn't feel lived in. They didn't feel like they were fit for purpose. And it wasn't until perhaps Halo ODST or, you know, perhaps even after that, I don't think it was really until I experienced Gears of War, which was probably around the same time as what Halo 2 came out, something like that. Um, that I really started to think that video games had a world that felt lived in. Now, Gears of War had a world that really felt like the characters connected with it, but the actual characters blended into the world. Sometimes it was quite hard to pick them out, but you knew they were there. There were things, there were elements that you pulled out on those characters that you could still distinguish them from the world, from the background in the artwork, even though it was all rendered stuff. Now, when I'm starting to look at this artwork here, I feel exactly the same there. I can see the world as I'm looking at it more and more and more. I'm seeing things I like at first I didn't notice the scale. So this guy's supposed to be huge, and it wasn't until I looked really closely there that we're seeing like the plague towers or whatever they're called, the war engines, which are hugely disproportionate. We've got one of those screaming bells over there on the right hand side, and it feels like there's the world happening. There's a battle there. Yeah, we have this main character, the Great Ordan Rat, stood on this rock, and then we've almost got like the head is the same character but from a different perspective, and it all works together. Now, I know what you're thinking, that perhaps this wouldn't work as a single representative image on the cover of a battle tome or something, and I don't think it needs to. I don't think each individual faction in Age of Sigmar, or 40K for that matter, has an individual character that needs to be the poster child for that faction for whatever reason. Whereas I think this specific piece of artwork does everything that I want it to do for a faction. It gives me everything that I need to understand the Skaven, certainly the current iteration of the Skaven, compared to what's currently on the cover of their battle tome, which is what they I don't know what kind of unit it is, but he's just like one of the rats with the gun, isn't he? And some red armor. I think having something like this that is more encompassing with a couple of different elements that gives you a flavor of that faction is way more interesting, and it looks beautiful. This more sketchy style that lets you have a feeling of the world that it's living in. You know, it gives you a feeling of the vibe of the realm. It gives you the feeling of decay, of hate, of violence, all of these things compared to what we currently get. I think this is a better way to sell that book to somebody that perhaps doesn't have a full understanding of what that faction is, whilst giving you something visually pleasing to look at. I know this is just me waxing lyrical about what the artwork and how I feel about it, but it'd be interesting to see what you guys think. So do drop us an email or hit us up in the Discord. You can find us at feelnopainpodcast@gmail.com, and the Discord links in the description. Drop us a message, hit us up on the socials. Tell me what you guys think of some of this artwork. Am I completely wrong? Do I not understand what Games Workshop are trying to do? Do we not understand what 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 I'm talking about full stop here, I guess, I suppose. I mean, I really enjoy looking at some of this stuff. I think it's fantastic, especially another couple of pieces on there that I'm going to actually talk about. So the one that is where am I? So if you're waffling about on this, click that link and it will be the fourth piece of artwork down. I'm going to gloss over the dwarfy one because it's not for me and I don't like the plague rats. But yeah, I'm sure we'll have something a bit to say about that. Perhaps we'll revisit that later on. But the fourth piece here, so we've got quite a nice, again, looks like it's a digital, but it's almost got a watercolor vibe to it. Um, Rendition of a wodge of clan rats, all ranked up, getting ready to have a right good old ruck. Like they're going to run across the battlefield and get involved in some slaughter going on. This again, I think, tells me more about the Skaven than the cover of the current battle tome. Why does it do that? It gives me a flavor of all of the different units. There's loads of different kinds of Skaven here. I'm understanding it's an Ord army from how they're amassed. Um, you know, I can see some of the iconography. I can see some of the colors that they have, a couple of different styles there. It's just more interesting, it's more fun, and it doesn't have that overly painterly style, which I think is somewhat reflective of how Games Workshop paint the models anyway, with their heavy metal style to emphasize every single little detail on it. It feels like in some respects that's carrying over to the battle tomes, and that's what they're trying to do with um, one centerpiece character for every one, perhaps, of the factions. And I don't think it works. I think we're not getting enough of the world there where, again, here we're seeing them in the environment that they're not necessarily um, coming from, much like the first one that was clearly set in the Skaven realms, the underworld, whatever it's called. Whereas this looks like they've come through a realm gate, warp gate, and they're getting ready to attack a city or something. But I'm understanding from that what they're trying to do. I really like it. And there's some other really good pieces on here as well. The fifth one down, we've got another one of the Great Horned Rat. Clearly, I like the Great Horned Rat. I think it's a wonderful model. I do need to pick it up and paint it. But yeah, this is so much better than some of the other stuff we're getting. It's a totally different style, and it just works more for Age of Sigmar than the overly rendered stuff. And I think for perhaps a 40k as well, I will have a look at some of the 40k stuff perhaps in a future episode, and I'll come back to this and revisit it. But I would like to see Games Workshop publishing more and more and more images of just normal characters not necessarily named characters, but, normal units set against the background of the realm or the sector, segmentum, planet, whatever it is that they're active in at that time, and giving us a sense of A, scale, B, purpose, and C, the location, the setting, the world. So at the end of the day, what I want is to explore that world in my games and build upon that. I don't want to look necessarily at one specific character. I want to reflect that on my games myself. So yeah, this has been a really oh my days, the last picture actually, forget about that. Go back to the link. It's all right, I'll wait. You found it? Yeah, the last one. The last picture on that. Oh, yeah. So you can hardly see any Skaven there. I can't even see one Skaven. It's just the setting, and that works perfectly. I'm there for that. I want to see more of this. Games Workshop, please put more of this kind of stuff out. It's fantastic. Oh my days, I'm excited by this. I don't know why. I love the style. I really enjoy the style. Yeah, fantastic stuff. Right, I think you've heard me talk enough about Skaven artwork and my opinions, unfounded as they may be, about that artwork. I'm sure we'll all have some mocking to do when he comes back. And perhaps we can get his insight and just see what he thinks about this, because I would be interested to know as well from somebody else's perspective that has more of an interest in Skaven, what they think about this. It's always good to get two sides, isn't it, of a story and an objective view rather than just one person talking in a studio by themselves right now, which I am. Anyway, we're done with this one. Let's do what I said we were going to do. And I want to take a look at a range of miniatures. And I'm going to do that in a second. But before I do that, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to have a drink of water. So you listen to this well timed, well placed segment thing, whatever it's called. Yeah, the sound. BRB. Here we are then. I'm going to talk about Tyranids. Why am I going to talk about Tyranids? Well, with the upcoming release of the new Kill Team supplement Nemesis, I'm really excited by this, by the way. I'm really excited. I've not been this excited for 40k for a while now. I really liked the Red Terror that's coming out. And I like the idea as well of the Nemesis supplement and being able to bring in some other um, bad guys into there, some different, more interesting models. I'm playing Kill Team in a different way, and I really like the idea of doing that alongside Will and crafting his own stories and reasons for playing in a very asymmetrical kind of way. That appeals massively. We've touched on it loads before, so I won't go into that now. Now, Tyranids are one of the races in 40k that I absolutely find fascinating because up until recently, I thought they were very derpy. But the more I've looked at them, perhaps this is playing Space Marine 2, the more interested I've been. Now, they've always obviously been influenced by Geiger's designs from Alien, and Games Workshop's take on them previously, perhaps that was a function of the production technologies they had and how things were sculpted. They just didn't do it for me. The artwork was also always more evocative of what they should be than I felt was represented on a tabletop. That was fairly common across all of the ranges. It wasn't until Primaris came along that I thought Space Marines actually looked like Space Marines, but it felt really obvious with Tyranids. Now, as I said, as they've kind of done the range refresh over the past couple of years, I've become more and more interested in wanting to paint some of these models. And I think having now a reason to do so with Kill Team and Nemesis is super exciting. So let me give you a little bit of context here. We did talk about this on a episode, a while back now. I kind of built a kill team for the previous edition of Kill Team by accident, just from bits and pieces that I had lying around. I managed to cobble together a legal kill team for Kill Team 21 based on the Tyranids. And from that, I put together like a little Hive fleet of my own, Hive fleet Metallicus, and I painted a couple of proxy models as well, just to kind of give everything a little bit of coherence and just to kind of figure out how I wanted them to look and how I thought that theme might scale up to other models. Then I decided to just paint a gaunt in the same thing, but I wanted to paint that gaunt and put it in a setting and see how that scheme would work in an actual setting that I thought the NIDs would be involved in. So rather than just running through like hive cities and stuff, I wanted to have them in a jungle and see if that Metallicus theme, that rust color, and them actually kind of having metallic um, elements on the body. Again, playing into that Geiger influence, that bioorganic kind of vibe, uh, how that would work and how that would kind of, what am I saying? Would it work in the setting? I realize that the NIDs are all entirely organic, but I wanted them to be pulling elements from the world, and the metallic element came from them invading lots of Imperium worlds where there is a lot of industry, hive world, you know, all of that biomass. They would be bringing on board a lot of metallic bits and pieces on there, perhaps as people, I don't know how their smelting pools kind of work. I'm assuming that they're not stripping people naked and getting rid of the body armor, ceramic, and things like that. So they would start to ingest it, and the bioforms would start to take on some of those traits, perhaps. In my head, it makes sense. So yeah, I wanted to explore that as a bit of a hobby whim kind of thing. And I want to take it a little bit further now. And even though we're not going to play a full fat 40k, as a painter and somebody that really enjoys getting into the nitty gritty and understanding how I can make something, how it would fit into my take on the universe, these are super exciting to me. So that's the context. And I thought it'd be fun to go through the range with you guys now, as it's kind of still expanding a little bit, and talk about the models that I think I want to explore and bring perhaps into Kill Team for myself and Will to have battles against and how that might work. So I've not convinced Will about this yet. In fact, he knows nothing about it. So I'm just going to go with that we're going to use High Fleet Metallicus because I can think of some really cool, fun stories that hopefully it'll be invested in around that. So I know the kind of look that I'm going to go for in terms of theme now for how they are. But let's talk about the individual models. And the first one I want to look at is the Tyranid Prime with Lash Whip. I don't know if I like this one or not. There's something it looks like a thick boy. And I guess this is again down to some of the elements being quite fragile, the whip for example. So um yeah, does this look terrifying? It looks like an alien drone, doesn't it? It looks like a xenomorph. And there's nothing wrong with that. The way I tend to do the armor panels, it's those that I make metallic, and I like the skin to be quite organic looking, but saw almost. Now, this model, really, I think when you see it in the game, Space Marine 2 I'm talking about, it looks so much more terrifying, and it's all in the teeth, isn't it? So I'm thinking perhaps there's something with a conversion that might make this guy look a little bit funkier. Perhaps it's just the Games Workshop paint scheme again. I mean, I have seen a number of Nid armies painted in a manner that just makes them look absolutely horrific. I think adding a couple of effects here and there, especially having some of the saliva trails on it and a lot of blood makes them look instantly more terrifying rather than the standard G-dubs paint job on there. I think as well, for this particular model, doing something with the chest and making that look like it's glowing perhaps would be kind of a cool thing to do, but yeah, I'm not sure we'll be using this model at all. Right. The gaunts, these are one of the things that I really do not like about the Nids. It's the gaunts. It's always been the gaunts for me. I just do not like these models at all. I find them quite hard to read. They've got a really weird silhouette. They don't look scary to me. Even when they're very well painted, I don't know what it is. Do you guys get this? That these just look super, super derpy. It is it how the gun's attached to them? And because it doesn't look like it's supposed to be coming out of them. The weird brain thing on its back just gives it a really weird posture. Specifically the barb gaunts. Um, it doesn't work at all, and I think this is one of the weakest elements of the mid range overall. Whenever I read any lore, this isn't how I picture them. I picture them much more lithe and, dare I say, insect-like, where with I think G-Dub's take on them is more crustacean-based, and I can kinda see where they're coming from with it, but it just doesn't give them the silhouette of something that's been, like, super, super fast and skittish, you know what I mean? So, like, it's skipping around, it's, like, up on the ceilings and, just popping out from behind barricades and things. This just feels like it's gonna be a little bit slower, a little bit more lumbering, perhaps. I'm not sure what we could do with those, to be honest, and again, not overly interested with them. Okay, now I'm getting into the ones that I'm really down for. The Hive Tyrant guys, I love this model. I even don't mind Games Workshop sculpt here, and I think this is one of the ones where they started to get teeth right. I know I've whinged about this in a couple of episodes, haven't I? But the teeth are a big thing for me in selling that alien vibe, that predatory vibe. Usually, the teeth look quite stubby, but I think they've got a really good take on the Hive Tyrant, and the scale I think works as well. I think the thing that doesn't work for me with the Hive Tyrant, and in fact, a lot of the NID models, and I kind of get why they're there. It's the bio guns looking like actual guns. It reads as weird to me. Whereas I think things like the talons and the claws work much better with like the animalistic alien vibe. And I'm not sure how we could get around that. I will think about converting them, but y- I'm going to go down the road of making them more like the Glockkin. So in Age of Sigmar, go and have a look at the Glockkin. And the largest of the Glockkin has kind of like this stumpy hand that's almost got like a sphincter on it. I know it sounds nasty, but just it's Nurgle in it, so just bear with me. But like it's got fangs and things, and it looks like it could almost be like a bio cannon. And I know some of the Nids do have some elements like that. But I think moving more in that direction, making them more organic and making them read less as anthropomorphized aliens with swords and guns is something that I would like to tackle. That I think coupled with a more alien-like paint scheme would be fantastic for the Hive Tyrant because overall I think that is a really great silhouette. And that takes me on to the next one recent releases this. I think it's in the past year or so. Guys, I absolutely love this sculpt. The Parasite of Mortrex. It's just cool. I'm there for this one. It's very Soul Blightish. And I had thought about using this for conversion, in fact, for my Fellbats a while back. Because I thought it had more of a horrific slant than the Fellbats did at the time. But looking at it now, the things that I would change about this, again, I think it's some of the proportions, and I think that is, again, a function of making them perhaps a little bit less fragile. It's the tendrils kicking down where its hind legs would be. You've got like these flaily tentacle things with claws on the end of it. I might think of getting rid of those and just having the claws attached to where the legs would have been. Just so that we've not got this flaily bit behind it and just have the tail. I think that would look a little bit more horrific to me, more terrifying, I suppose, rather than horrific. I can imagine then it having like its little stumpy legs with its claws on it, it being attached upside down on on like a gantry or something, and some space marines wandering underneath, not knowing it's there, and then it falling down on the head and it just like engulfing them, wings around it as it like chows down on a marine's head. You know, Battle Brothers like firing bolt rounds into it and it just not giving a damn. It's kind of like bouncing off of that chitness, is it? Chitness? Carapace? Oh, yeah, I'm there for that. Right. Yep, yep, 100%. If you could see me then, I was making like this under the gantry kind of like clinging to it motion. I was getting overly excited. I'm pretty certain my wife thinks I'm mental. She'll be downstairs listening to this, having a right laugh. But it's okay. We don't mind. I'm there for it. Okay, Winged Hive Tyrant. I'm going to gloss over because I don't like that model at all. That needs to be gone. Tyranid Warriors. Yeah, okay. These guys look really good. Same problem though. Weapons need to be less weapony. Swords, how do I feel about the swords? Let's get rid of the swords and just have them all with the talons. That works then. Gargoyle Brood. I don't know where these sit, guys. I think these would be fun in the game. In Kill Team, I'm talking about specifically. But they just look no, no, mm-mm, not for me. I think this is indicative of the derpiness I was talking about. I don't like them. Now, there's a number of third-party companies, Station Forge being one of them, I think do a range called Zenids, and I've painted a couple of their sculpts. Not this particular unit that they've proxied, but they have a little bit more, they're more delicate, and I think that works for these smaller units. Again, it comes down to that speed, that mobility that I'm thinking about. I just wonder if there's some utility there in kind of mixing and matching some of the sculpts that I'm liking from this. 'Cause I don't believe that you can just get away with having one of the Nemesis guys there. I think you need to have some cannon fodder as well, but these would be cool if they looked decent. To my eye, though, they just don't. It's the teeth again. I don't think the tip paint scheme does anything, but they just don't look like they could be alive like some of the other creatures in the range. So yeah, that's a hard pass. Okay, right. I think that's most of the ones that I dislike out of the way, other than the Neurogaunts, but I'm not going to touch on those. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this. Right, Trigon. This is fantastic. I think this is Forge World. Is it Forge World? Does it say if it's Forge World? Um, I could have sworn that is this an actual plastic kit? If this is a plastic kit, I need to get hold of one. This is absolutely banging. I have nothing bad to say about this. This is where the nids should be. This is how they should look. They've done it right. I mean, what's not to like about it? It looks utterly alien. It's not trying to be a gun-toting, I don't know, gun-toting dog like those barb gaunt things. This looks like it's an actual alien monster. It looks like it could be alive. The structure of it looks great. The model itself just works. Even the paint scheme's not bad on this one. They've gone too far with with the plating, but other than that, this looks absolutely fantastic. In fact, is this what the red whatever it's called, the red terror in the new boxes? Is this a replacement for this model? It's not, is it? This is bigger. I'm thinking this is bigger. Am I right? Am I wrong? Somebody let me know because I have no idea. But I love this. Will, future Will, we're getting this model. We're fighting against it. It's happening. It's happening, dude. What is next then? Let's have a butchers. There is one that I'm super excited about. The Malceptor. I like this as well. It reminds me of Starship Troopers. This is a good model. Again, super insectoid. I like it. No big daft guns. Now, spy assists and mulcoid spore things. These are cool. I think we need something like this in 40k and the time cysts as well, or whatever they're called. The things that they come out of their version of dropped pods, I think they are. Guys, I really like these. Again, super alien. And I might pick up something like this. I'll get some proxies and print them out. Not necessarily because I want to fight against them. I think this will make some really interesting terrain pieces for cover as well in Kill Team. What do you think? Give me some ideas. What would you guys use? I specifically like the idea of the spore cysts floating around as well. Perhaps we could house rule some of that stuff. Very cool sculpts as well. Right, zoanthropes. Well, they're just annoying in the game, aren't they? You know what? I don't like these. The reason I don't like them is they just don't look like they would work. They look just no, no. I don't like anything about them. I can't say it any other way. They just don't. They don't appeal to me. They look like they don't fit in with the range at all. I understand why they look the way they do because all of the development, all of the biomass has gone into the head because of the psychic stuff with these. And that leaves the body kind of like disheveled and weak and stuff, but that then just kind of makes it feel like it wouldn't work organically. I know I'm reading too much into it because psychic and all of that stuff, but it's doing nothing for me. No, that's an easy miss. Same with the venom throw-ups. Not there for them. Doesn't work. Takes my suspension of disbelief a little bit out of it. All right, okay, this is a new one on me, the Toxicrene. Now, I feel like I've heard of this guy, but it might be just from reading the codexes before. Is this an alternate build for the other sculpt? What's it called? The Melceptor, yes, it is. It's an alternate build option. So this is in the same kit from the Melceptor. Nah, the Melceptor's better. Yeah, we'll go with the Melceptor. We won't go with that. The Morlock then. Yes. This is another alternate build, isn't it, for that other thing that we just talked about. Okay, right. Ah, so it's not Forge World, it is plastic. Yeah, alright, the Morlock, I would. Oh no, it is different from the Trigon. Is it? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's the same kit or not. It looks like it's the same kit. The body looks to be the same, but that's got a way more interesting mouth. Let me know. Let me know what you think. Is the Morlock better or is the Trigon better? Tell me. Right. Swarmlord then. Yes. Look at this, right? Go and check this out on the Games Workshop website. Massively different paint scheme. So much better than the others. Highlights the right things that you want. The teeth are still off by a mile, but other than that, this is an absolute banging model. I couldn't be there more for this. I mean, this looks absolutely fantastic. So much better than the Hive Tyrant. I'm going to say that. Just it is better than the Hive Tyrant. Why is it so much better? Oh, yeah, I know why. It's not got big daft guns on it. Got a sword, yeah, but that's easy enough to fix. I'm being overly harsh here, guys. I don't know. Am I going off on one with the gun thing? It just doesn't work though. It takes you way too far out of it. I think I think it's because they look so alien-like, and I mean that in terms of like xenomorphs from the Alien films, that the concept of them using guns is just like lost on me. It doesn't work, but I don't know. Perhaps I'm being overly harsh there, but I would like to see them come up with a better solution that's, perhaps, dare I say it, not as family friendly, but I know they're never going to do that. But yeah, let's give it some more thought on that, G-dubs, please. Trivagon. Oh, Turvigon. Sorry, not Trevigon. I don't like this. I want to like it. I want to like it a lot. and I'm loving, like, some of the little details. I'm loving all of the gaunts bursting out of it. That's just incredible. Again, the paint scheme doesn't work, but the face just looks derpy. Yeah, I really like that, actually. I think that could work. I wonder if there's a proxy for that. I feel like there must be a proxy. One that does it a little bit better. I'll have to have a butcher's later on at Station Forge. I'm noting these down as we go through and just seeing what we can do. 'Cause I would love to get something like that with the gaunts bursting out of it. In fact, there's something like this in Gears of War, isn't there? That kind of snatches you up. What the hell was that called? Oh man, I haven't played that game in years. I need to go back and revisit it. Okay, right. There is a couple more on here that I want to talk about, but I'm spending too much time on it in it. So let's rattle through them a little bit more. Tyranid Prime with wings, not into that. Don't like the wings at all. The Psychophage, really like that. And people seem to have like polarized opinions on this one, don't they? Because of the weird, because it's got effects on it, say effect with big commas on around it. I like them. I know they're not to everybody's taste. I'm not sure how I feel if I put them on there specifically. Hmm. Yeah, I think that one's a possibility. We'll discuss with Will. Von Ryan's Leapers, kinda cool, not hating them. The new Hormagaunts, much better, way better than the previous Gaunts. Still not as lithe as I'd like them, but way better than the others. In fact, I've painted a couple of these now. I think I used one of these for um, my diorama piece, for the base, figuring that out if it'd work. I remember it being quite fun to paint. What do you think? Do these look live enough now? And am I being like, am I conflating these with the barb gaunts too much? Let me know. Let me know. I think these could be the ones that we need for the cannon fodder and the chaff. I think these would work. Future Will listening to this, what do you think? Come back to me. Let me know. Right. Now, some of the picks that we looked at for our best models in 40K are getting into this point now, aren't we? So, what have we got? We've got then the Lictor, fantastic model. But if I have a choice between a Lictor and a Death Leaper, I'm going to go with the Death Leaper because this is an absolute banging kit. And now I have a reason to purchase it, and I will be doing that. Oh, yes, I shall. 100%. This is happening. Gene Stealers. Right. Okay. Hot take for you. I'm not going to put this in a different section, but this is going to be my hot take. I don't think the Gene Stealers work with Tyranids. It feels like they were putting. I know all of the lore, but they don't work for me. Even when they're painted in the same scheme, they look like an utterly different design language. They look like they wouldn't evolve or come from the same kind of spawning process. They just don't feel right to me. And I know the range was um, elaborated on over many years and such, and Gene Stealers have become somewhat iconic of 40K. I'm just I'm not there for them, guys. I've never been a massive fan of Gene Stealers and the Gene Stealer cults. There's elements that I like in a few of them, but overall, I definitely wouldn't have Gene Stealers in my turned army. Even though I had them in the kill team, but that was quite limited before, so I did have to grab some in there, painted them up in the same sort of colours. I'll put some pictures up on the Discord actually, of my Metallicus kill team. Yeah, do you like Gene Stealers? Like, as part of your Nids army? Again, do let us know over on the Discord, and let's have a chat about it because I'm not feeling it, I'm not gonna lie. No, no. We'll keep those out of this one. Death Leaper, go back and listen to his top 10. Both myself and Will love this model. It's happening. Almost certainly gonna be getting this bad boy. Pyrophage and the Biovore. I think this is the same kit. I like it, but what I don't like is the gun. The gun looks too much like a gun. It needs to look like some other type of appendage that would fire something. I think that would be better. I think it'd be humorous as well, but it'd make more sense than it actually looking like a gun. I'm not sure I could go so far as to fix fix that. I think I think it might be going a little bit too far. I don't know. What should I? Should that be a thing that happens? I don't know. Let me know. It would be an interesting conversion to do, and perhaps one that I would make a video on. That's a hilarious idea. Okay then, so on to the non-assimilator and the non-emissary. Yes, a hard yes for me on this one. I think both are really interesting models. I think the emissary is probably the one that I'd go for. I really like the curved scythe-like talons on there. I think the brain looks kind of cool as well. This is something that I would really like to explore with how I want to elaborate on the paint scheme that I've already established. I want to make the skin look wet. Um, and I think having it so it looks like that. I'm not sure how you'd achieve this, but it looks like the brain's almost like um, pulsating would be fantastic. And it's just like a wet mass behind all of this chitinous shielding to stop it getting like, damaged. Ah, yeah, and it dripping like slime and ooze down, having it kind of encased in this viscous membrane that just looks disgusting. The only thing that I would like about this, and I know I keep ranting on about it, guys, but make its teeth look more vicious. Have it like roaring its mouth open so we can get some like saliva between it, and perhaps having something impaled on one of these talons, or just something that you can't tell that it was a space marine or whatever, just like ripped apart and like entrails hanging from its hands. Not sure that that would be accurate because I'm kind of guessing this guy would be at the back of like the army, commanding it, being like the psychic one, making them all do their thing. So I'm guessing it won't be attacking things, but it's looking vicious. It looks like it could hold its own. So let's get some yeah blood and gore and things there, making me look goddamn cool. Yeah, yeah. This is a great model. Really great model. Old one eye Carnifex brood. Yeah, they need to update this one. I'm not there for it. I don't like it. I don't like it. No, not gonna work for me. Interestingly, it's red though. I didn't realize old one eye was red as well. That kind of works with the red terror, doesn't it? What hive fleet's that? I don't actually know. Yeah, I don't like the gun. Don't like the gun on it, but old one eye potentially. Screamer killers, really like these. Again, not too keen on the head sculpt, but other than that, these could definitely work. The Broodlord, no, not in for it. And then we're getting into the mental ones, aren't we? Then we're getting into like the Titans, so the Haridon and the Hierophant Bio Titans. Excuse me. Yeah, that's not happening. Exocrine, gun issue again. And the Tyrant Guard not into Hive Crone. Hmm. I'm not sure about the Hive Crone. I'm not sure how big it is. It looks fairly big. Yeah, that looks massive. No, it's not. It's only 58 quid. Maybe it's not that big. How big is this thing? Ah, no, the mouth. Nope. Nope, that's discounted on the silly mouth. The Harpy's got guns, so that's out of it. Now, alright, okay. The Haruspex. Haruspex, is that how you pronounce it? That. That could work. I'm excited for that. That works. And what are these? Kill Team Raveners. You know what? I don't think I've looked at these properly since they came out. Oh, right. Is this what the Red Terror is? Wait, these look tiny. The red terror isn't this small, is it, guys? It's not. Tell me it's not. I am not feeling it. What have they done with these paint schemes? Oh my days, have you seen these? This is vile. No, no, somebody smoked some plastic crack when they got up and painted them these colours. Why would you do that? That looks weird. It looks like they're wearing suits, like spacesuits or something. That is such an odd choice for those. I wonder what do you guys think of these? I'm This isn't the best radio, is it? I've got to admit, I'm looking at pictures and talking about them, but I am not that the like blue and pink. It looks like synthwave nids. Nope, that's a hard pass from me. That's just out there. However, the Neurolictor, this could be an interesting one. That looks pretty alien. Not hating that at all. Although I can't. Oh right, okay. I thought it was just like a snake-like body thing, but it's not. Is it? It's just its big tail, and it's just a weirdly painted. No, actually, take that back. Neurolictor's out there. Not feeling that one either. And I think that is all of the nids. So I think we've got some strong contenders there. The Haruspecs definitely that could work. The Carnifex Brood, we've already got a Carnifex realistically because I painted it, so maybe not. The what was the other one we talked about? The Non-Emissary, that could work. The Death Leaper, 100%. The Psychophage, yes. Hormagaunts, yes. Can you only get that? What's the Horrors of the Hive? We didn't touch on that one, did we? What's in this then? What have we got in the Horrors of the Hive? So we've got a Screamer Killer and Neuroids. Okay. And the Neuro Tyrant. Yeah, I could get behind that. I think, yeah, we need that kit, I think. Okay, right. So I'm going to keep an eye out for this. I've I've got a proxy of what I thought was the Screamer Killer that it's in. It isn't. Painted a proxy of that was really, really good. I enjoyed it a lot. And this floating brain thing, I want that. That looks great. And then obviously we've got this Morlock thing that we talked about. That needs to happen. The Morlock or the Trigon, or maybe the Trigon with the Morlock's mouth, and perhaps tail because the tail's better on the Morlock. And you know what? I think I'm liking the Morlock better. Let's just say that like the Morlock. There, decided the Morlock's happening. It's that one. Yeah, so we'll go with that one. Cool. This has been useful, guys. I think this is I'm excited. I'm excited for that. Excited for the Parasite of Mortrex. Mortrex. It's Mortrex, isn't it? Yeah. I do like looking through ranges of the models and just seeing what's what. And it's a useful thing to do for me because I usually paint an entire range, but there's just bits and pieces inside of this specific range that absolutely I think are super interesting. Like I say, you're never going to find things that you're 100% happy with, but I'm super excited to get these on the tabletop, paint it up, and then play some games of Kill Team. I've already got like a wodge of terrain. I'm really excited to be getting Will involved in some Kill Team. So hopefully he's not just going to play Imperial Guard all the time. He'll play some interesting teams. No, I'm only joking, Will. I know you love your guard. But I think fighting against a common foe will be really, really good fun. And I can imagine it being even more interesting when it's a super alien race like the Nids. Although I do like the idea of a Chaos Dreadnought or some type of demon as well in there. But for now, I think Nids are the way forward for this kind of game mode in Nemesis for us at least. What do you guys think? Are you interested in Kill Team? Are you going to be playing Nemesis? Is it something that anybody actually does, or do you just all play competitive Kill Team? Because yeah, is that's the thing? People seem to enjoy it. I definitely enjoy just playing casual Kill Team. So I'm really looking forward to this, like I say. and I can't wait. Right, I think I've waxed lyrical enough about this stuff as well. So hopefully you enjoyed that brief foray into the Tyranid range and what I'm planning on doing for me and Will over the next couple of months. And on that, let's jump into something else. Future editing win here. So I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the stuff that's gone up for pre-order. So specifically, Spearhead, City of Ash has gone up for pre-order. Was it last week? I don't know. It's come out anyway, hasn't it? So you can order it now, and it's 134 quid, which is not too far off of what I was told it was, which was 127. So yeah, that's a reasonable price, I think, for what you get in that. And I didn't expect for it to come with 2 books. However, it seems that from what I've seen so far, one of them is kind of like a pamphlet book, and they're not decent sized rule books. But yeah, 134 quid direct from Games Workshop, not bad at all. So with the 20% off that you can get from your usual FLGS, that takes it down to about £107.20. That is a reasonable amount of money. Not complaining with that at all. I'm still not going to be buying it. I'm definitely going to hold off on this one, to be honest. I'm not. I'm not too bothered about either of the armies. There's a couple of the Skaven models I want to paint, but I'm not going to do it just for funsies, to be honest, on this one. I'm going to see if I can pick up the board, cards, and the books. Hopefully, a lot of people are going to be buying it for the armies, and they'll appear either at my FLGS, Murfield Miniatures. If you've not checked it out, go there. It's amazing, especially if you're in West Yorkshire. Best game store around, and you'll get some right bargains. So I'm hoping I'll be able to pick that up for maybe, what, 20 quid, something like that. I'm not 100% certain, but that is absolutely banging if I can get hold of it. And I'm pretty certain Will would be interested. I think he said he was looking at picking up the actual box. I'm not certain if he's still going to do that. I guess that's something that we'll find out in the near future. Certainly something that I'll find out in the near future. To be honest, I've held off messaging him about this because I thought it'd be fun to just let him hear this episode, as it were, with the rest of everybody, and then we can talk about basically everything that I've done in this episode later in a future one. So yeah, that was one of the things that went up for pre-order that I wanted to talk about. And also today, as I'm recording this, I hear rumblings that the pre-orders for next week are going to be all of the Imperial Guard and Yarrick stuff, which makes me particularly happy because that means I'm going to be getting the next one of the books. And lo and behold, as we talked about in the previous podcast, I absolutely love the artwork on the cover of it. Still not 100% on that Stormbolter, but it started to come around to me. I'm not hating it. And I think, you know what? Since I've looked a little bit more at the models, I'm starting to like them a little bit more. Definitely more interesting than I thought it was going to be. Especially, and I didn't think I was going to say this, that Commissar Graves, I'm probably going to pick this up at some point in the future. I really do like it. I think she looks kind of cool. Not 100% convinced she doesn't look like she's from Thunderbirds. The face, the lower lip just reminds me of Brains from Thunderbirds. I cannot get past that, but I'm really liking it. And I think the other thing that's going up as well is the Dogma Superior. I can't remember her name, but the Sister of Battle on the cool walking throne thing. I'm almost 100% going to pick that up further down the line. So we'll see how that goes. What else are we got up there that I think is going to come out this week? I can't remember what else was up for pre-order. Perhaps there's going to be some of the other Imperial Guard stuff. So there was that big daft um I don't know what it was called. It was the thing with like the cattle catcher on the front, wasn't there? And there was like a wodge of tanks that didn't impress either myself or Will. I don't think, even though he's a bit of an Imperial Guardy, an Astra Militarum man. Militarium? Military, whatever. Imperial Guard. But you know what else? I did go back over some of the stuff that I was talking about in the previous episode, and I think that Inquisitor guy as well on the weird horse that looks like it's from Slaves to Darkness. I think that's going to be one that I need to see in person. I know Will had strong opinions about it, but I don't know. I think it feels a little bit more Warhammery than I thought it was going to originally, and I'm kind of down for that, to be fair. But the thing that I'm most interested in is absolutely going to be the next book in the series, and I've not really talked about the previous books yet, and that was something I wanted to pick up with Will, but I'm going to talk about it probably a little bit more now. So Maelstrom, I was excited about, and I'm starting to get into it. I think after my original disdain for some of the characters in there, I'm coming around to it. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm warming up to 40k more and more and more. Not that I've never not been into 40k, you know what I mean? But there's elements of the lore that I've kind of not been as interested in. I'm definitely still not as interested in Imperial Guard. I can't help that. Nothing's going to change it. But Chaos has been something that I've almost shied away from as well. And this is kind of bringing me around to that. And I think now that I have the next book in the series as well, Eye of Terror, I'm wondering if I'm kind of going down that chaotic route myself. Perhaps it's my yearning to have Dark Mechanicum. I don't know. Who can say? But I'm interested to see what we're going to get out of the Yarick set because the Reign of why do I want to keep calling it Reign of Iron? The Eye of Terror book is significantly smaller than the other ones. They seem well, each one of them's actually got like a little bit shorter. So it'll be interesting to see how the Yarick one compares to the other three. I would be interested to see as well if they don't stealth drop another book at the end of this edition. Hopefully they will do. I'm kind of really hoping to bridge the gap with some of the elements missing in the lore, but I don't know for certain that it's just a feeling that I've got that perhaps this is going to be something that will pique my interest, and I think they might just do that unless they're going to put all of the lore in the 11th edition rulebook. I'm hoping not. That said, loads of people are going to buy multiple boxes, aren't there? So I'll almost certainly be able to pick up one of the rule books fairly cheap, pretty much as soon as it launches. But we'll have to see on that one, won't we? Right. Okay. I think that's all I wanted to talk about in this section of the episode. Hopefully, I've covered everything that I wanted to there. I don't think I've forgotten anything, but there are real chances that I may have done that because I haven't really got any notes for this one, guys, as you've probably imagined. However, I'm going to jump on to the Discord now. I'm going to have a quick look at some of your questions. I'm going to try to answer some of those. Okay, then. So, different segment. I'm going to try and talk to you while I hobby, and we're going to go through some of the segments that we normally talk about. One of those is going to be hobby update. Well, this is kind of part of my hobby update. So, let's talk about the things that I've bought and done and read already over the past couple of weeks since we last chatted about it. Well, I finished 500 Worlds. I really enjoyed it. Didn't expect to because Ultramarines, but you know, it was pretty well written. My only downside to it was the fact that the Nightbringer had already been announced, it had already been shown because of the leaks. The end of it, kind of, the gravitas was taken out of the book because we knew what it was talking about. We knew that that model was coming, and that's the model that really should have been there with the arrival of the new Kill Team update, Nemesis, which, a little bit disappointing, as I say, but still, it was pretty well written. I enjoyed it. I especially enjoyed the Necron elements, and I think if I was going to get involved in a 40k army that I wanted to heavily convert so that it looked kind of more towards my aesthetic, I think I'd definitely go with Necrons as well as the Tyranids. They're just more interesting to me at the moment than Space Marines. So that's done out of the way, and I've started on Maelstrom. But I've also literally just picked up Eye of Terror. And I don't know what didn't click when they first announced this. I thought it was called Reign of Terror. And, well, it's Eye of Terror, but not Eye of Terror as in the planet Terror. Terror as in Terror. Terror. I love that. it's such a simple play, like, but it's so cool. And yeah, I'm definitely enjoying what they've done with that one. So well done, G-Dubs. Really looking forward to getting started on that book. But I think it's going to be perhaps next week I'll have finished Maelstrom. I've not had as much time to read as I wanted, so taking it a little bit slower. I'm enjoying it, but I'll definitely be up to date by the time Garrick comes out, which I've got pre-ordered. Speaking of the things that I bought, I picked up some more brushes today because, excuse me, my fine detail brush died. And I've got a couple, but I wanted to give the army painter ones a try, so I picked up their super detail and fine detail, see how those go. I also picked up some AOS stuff, and I already have a couple of Sylvaneth bits and pieces kicking about, and it's one of those armies. I've talked about it with Will, haven't we? We talked about it as part of the Path to Glory that I have the Spearhead, but I'm interested in the army. I can't help it. I tried not to, but I picked up Drycha, the, I don't know what she's called. It's the like the Spite Revenant. I picked up some Spite Revenants as well, under the 5 of those. Uh, yeah, Drycha, the big kind of dreadnoughty looking lady coming out of the tree with all of like the beehivey things on her shoulders and things. I love that model. I saw it for a really great price at my FLGS, and it just had to be mine. So yeah, I picked that up today. And also, I think that's it for AOS. Yeah, that's it for AOS. The other thing I picked up was Kill Team Sanctifiers. If you watched our previous podcast, or listened to our previous podcast, should I say, then you will have heard me talk about loving that one in the top 10. I really liked the sculpts, and that motivated me to actually go ahead and pull the trigger and buy it. So I've done that, and I'm really looking forward to painting that up over the next couple of weeks. I think that's going to be a really fun one for me to do, and certainly something that I want to spend time on painting. And you know what? That's not something I've said for ages, because I've kind of not been as motivated as I had been previously, because, work and everything else, it gets on top of us all, doesn't it, from time to time? And that was just one of those things that kind of it did for me. And I've not been in here where I am right now in my studio painting as much, but I'm going to try and change that. Ironically, just as the sun starts to appear, but it is what it is. So I think that's all of the things that I've bought over the past couple of weeks. What else have I done then? Well, I've been painting my Space Marine kill team. I'm just finishing that now. So I'm just putting the final details to the base. I'm really happy with that. This was Kill Team Justian that came in the Kill Team starter set. I've got this done. I've got the Death Guard element of it almost done. I've also painted up some barriers and the accessory kits. And I've done a couple of bits of terrain as well. So I've got a what's it called? It's like the AdMech engine thing with the big old skull on it. I've got that to paint up, and that's going to fit in really nicely with all of the current terrain that I've got for Kill Team, which is a significant amount. And I've got some other bits and pieces as well that I've printed out, and I'm going to be using them to photograph some of my models again. So that's fun bits and pieces for my other hobby, which is kind of the YouTube side of things. So that's what I'm working on at the moment. That's where I am with things. That's what I'm doing. I'm super excited to make some progress on things, though. I really can't wait to show Will this kill team, see what he thinks, and hopefully motivate him to get his finished, so that we can really start to explore kill team together. I think he's going to really enjoy it. I know I am, and if he doesn't, it's all right. Don't worry about it. I'm gonna force him to. And yeah, I think that's where I am with that at the moment. Now you are going to hear some random noises as well as I'm on with things, because as I say, I am painting, and I'm using my vibrating paint shaker. That is 100% that what it is. Get it out of your mind. That's just being rude. Stop it. That's what it is. So what do I want to talk about then today? Well, I want to talk about something that's been on my mind, and I wanted to chat with Will about this, but since he's not here, I'm sure we'll pick it up at a future date. But what I do want to talk about is my concern about AOS. As I've just said, I've picked up some more Sylvaneth models, and I've spent a lot of time over probably the past year since I met Will, and we've kind of had these grand ambitions of what we want to do with our gaming narrative, and I can't help but be massively worried about what's going on in the AOS space with this whole coalescence of bringing the realms back together and everything that I built and invested time, money, and effort in to get things into a state where we can play in the world that we want to play in. And granted, I might be driving this a little bit more than Will, but my worry is that Games Workshop are going to get rid of the realms, they're going to get rid of Shaiish and everything there is, and that's going to impact on how I feel, I think, about the setting. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going away from it because, like, I spent a lot of time painting my vampire lords, so Blight Grave lords, and the realm of battle boards. Obviously, that's all set in that specific setting. And my concern is that it's all going to disappear, not overnight, obviously. And we've still got time yet. We've still got like a year and a half of this edition, and who knows what's going to happen. But I can't help but be less motivated, I think, than I was because I don't know what's going to happen. And I realize that's not something that I have any control over and I should be worried about. But as an hobbyist, I think it's something that kind of affects us all, and it's a difficult one because it feels like AOS is still relatively new, I think. And to do away with it now, just to kind of go back to where they were, seems counterproductive to me. I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you like legitimately think this is going to happen? If you play AOS, are you involved in that space? Do you think that it's going to impact you, even if it does change back? What happens if they kill Sigmar? Will it even be called Age of Sigmar? Or do you think they'll call it the Last World? And then that would make sense being in line with the old world, wouldn't it? I mean, there's elements there where I can understand it from a marketing perspective. That doesn't make it any easier for me to digest as a hobbyist, as a consumer. But it does give more and more rise for worry for me, to the point where I'm thinking, do I want to continue investing in these armies until I know what's happening? And I don't think I'm going to stop because that'd be daft. I mean, as both myself and Will have said, we enjoy playing games together, and even if it did change, there's nothing stopping us from carry on playing like 4th edition and seeing whatever it is we start out through that edition. And he's absolutely right, and that is something that we can do. But when you're in this community, I think there is an inherent fear of missing out on things. And if you're playing an old edition, it can almost feel alienating if you're not up to date with what's going on in the lore, in the meta. And that worries me because one of the things that I like about this hobby, and in fact, one of the reasons why we started the podcast and I started doing YouTube a while back, I meant like quite a long time back now. And the reason, in fact, myself and Will met was through this wanting to interact with somebody with similar tastes and wants, needs, desires from the hobby. I think once you stop engaging with some of that, it becomes increasingly difficult to interact with other people, peers in the hobby. You guys, for instance, think about it in the context of this. If we stopped talking about more recent and relevant stuff, would it still be as interesting to you? I don't know. You may say not. I mean, we're not a huge podcast. We have a small, humble, and growing but, tiny comparatively to some of the others, listener base. If we only talked about the stuff that we were playing in terms of addition, and we kind of stopped being as chatty about what's going on in the lore as it expands in real time, and the new products coming out, if they become less of a requirement for us to engage in the hobby, I guess some of this goes away. And again, that's not something that I want. So one of the things that I've got out of the hobby is like the ability to chat to other people, even though it's only via a one-way communication channel, I suppose, in this respect, via this podcast or via the stuff that I do on YouTube, or there is, I suppose, bits and pieces over there on Discord, where we talk to you guys if you're a member of that, and we can have like actual conversations. But this feels like something that I would want to carry on doing, and I don't feel that it would have the same relevance and appeal to people if it was just us playing in our own little setting and we were using a very small subset of models and miniatures from the current range. And there's nothing we can do about if that's going to happen, but it worries me considerably because I seem to be in the minority of liking the AOS setting. I like the idea of Sigmar. I think if some of the rumors have been true or are going to turn out to be true around what potentially might happen, it sounds so much of just a rehash of the 40k lore that it's just not interesting to me as a fantasy setting. But then again, I don't want them to go completely low fantasy as well, which feels like, as we've said, with the Cities of Sigmar, it's going that way somewhat. So yeah, I don't know. I don't want to slow down my output, but also one of the things that I want to do more is play the game, and I don't want to get to the point where it all feels worthless. What are your guys' thoughts on this? Am I completely barking up the wrong tree? Do we think that this isn't going to be a thing? Am I just being a little bit dramatic about it all, and we don't think it's going to happen? Let me know. I'm super interested to find out what you think of it. I would be intrigued to say the least on this. Now, what color am I going to use for my backpack on all these Space Marines? Now, normally I have the vents emitting blue stuff, like a blue light, but I don't know. I feel like with Kill Team, it's more covert, isn't it? So I want to go with something like a little bit more covert, and it feels like red, they would tune their backpacks to be perhaps less efficient, but it would emit a red light because that would be better for covert and night ops. Or shall I just go with the blue and be done with it? I don't know. And also, what colour shall I do the plasma glow? Oh, this is a taxing question. Let's think. Right. So I think I'm going to go with red. Or do I go with blue? Keep it cool. Is red a little bit too warm? I don't know. I know most people don't even bother doing this because it's, are they vents? Where does it come from? I don't know, but I like to do it. So I wouldn't say consistent. Shall we go with red? Yeah, I think so. Let's go with red. So we'll go with orange instead. And then we'll bring it down to red. Right, okay, so I'm just going to talk about some of the hobby stuff that I'm working on at the moment as well. So, as I said before, I've been working on my Kill Team stuff, and I'm excited for that. What I'm interested in is what paint ranges and stuff do you guys do? I use a mix of all different mediums, like, there we go. This is my paint shaker again. I'm a huge fan of Vallejo paints and their various sub ranges, but I tend to use Citadel contrast paints a hell of a lot but I use them as glazes. And then I tend to come back in with a fuller bodied acrylic to add bits and pieces on there. What do you guys use? Because I'm thinking that for the Sanctifiers project, I'm actually going to move away from using the standard acrylics at all, and I'm going to go with a more texture based approach. I might even convert each of them up. I don't know. I want to try it. I want a project to try it on, but I'm also scared of messing up if it's something I want to play with. Do you guys get that? It's difficult, isn't it? I had this issue with the Great Unclean one where I really had a wodge of ideas that I wanted to execute, but I also didn't know how to execute them. What do I mean by that? It's a really good question, I suppose. And what I mean is, I wanted to make them look how I saw them in my head, but to do so, I couldn't use the painting style that I normally use. And I was too scared to experiment onto them because I didn't want to mess them up. And it was a um, quite an expensive army, and I'd spent a lot of time doing them in a certain way. This is the Magnet King army, by the way, that I'm talking about, and thus the Great Unclean one when I came to that point. And I wanted consistency. So working on that larger project, I thought was a really good idea, but then it ended up being something of a barrier for me to be able to do anything, because I got so caught up into a way of painting that I wanted to have that consistency across the entire army. And I know it shouldn't matter. And I know it doesn't matter. From a distance, nobody notices if there's slight variations in, your armor recipe or your paint scheme overall. You've tried something new and different. But for me, I get caught up into that, and I can't move away from it. You know what I mean? It becomes almost like a hindrance, I guess. And I kind of don't like that, because I find that to progress, I only want to paint then one-off things, because it doesn't matter how they look. And it's a very, very odd sensation going from one thing to the next and not doing everything in the same manner. Does that make sense? It almost feels like when you get trapped in army paint and you just want to get through the project, but it becomes more of this is just how you paint certain things, and then you get caught into it and you never actually further your ability, because it's just like, oh well, this is how I do this specific thing. And leather, for instance, let's take leather or armor panels. This is how I do leather and armor panels. You grok 100% how to do your leather and armor panels, but then the next time that you paint something, it might only have leather or it might have armor panels, but it has something different. And then you learn a technique to paint, let's say, purity seals. Once you've done your purity seals, right, great. Your next thing might have purity seals and armor. So you paint those two things and you've got recipes for those, but you're never actually progressing to painting the model. You're painting the elements of the model in a way that you know how to paint. You see what I mean? And that for me doesn't help me progress. So I like to have things in more of a one-off, I suppose, manner to help me be able to do that. And I don't think wanting to have the consistency across the board like I do, which is a me problem, helps me at all with that. So yeah, let me know, or let us know down in the comments. I think Will's actually a really good example of this. He's kind of avoided falling into this trap somewhat, and he's not being afraid to redo some of his models at all. I mean, he'll strip them and crack back on and redo them, whereas I'm like, nope, if I've done something, that's it now. That is how I'm doing it, to the detriment of everything else. And that is not a good way to hobby, because it makes me not enjoy it. But I don't know if that's been not negative. I don't think negative's the right word. If it's been a little bit insular in how I approach that hobby element of it. Perhaps it's just been how I've kind of trained myself over the past year or so, or maybe more than a year now, and it's because it's before we've been doing the podcast. So the past 2 years, I've been pretty much caught up into army painting, so that I had everything ready for pretty much every eventuality that I could want to do in terms of play. And now I'm almost at a stage where it's great. I can just basically get involved with playing. And I'm finding making the switch back now to painting something, for instance, the nids how I want them, in a higher quality style, and helping myself progress and wanting to progress so that I can start painting to a higher level again, quite intimidating. And it's like, oh, well, what if, like when we talked earlier, what if I want to use this thing in a game of Kill Team? It needs to look similar to the other stuff that we're painting for Kill Team in terms of quality for it to be immersive. This is a bad way of doing it, isn't it? And my head is caught up in that, and I don't know how to get out of it. Perhaps it's because I don't play it anywhere near as much, and anywhere near as much as I want, should I say? And perhaps then some of that as well is because when we do play, like for instance, we're playing through Darkwater now, but we're playing with my complete set that I painted straight away, all in one go, consistent style, consistent level. Yes, it's tabletop standard, but we're happy with it, and it does kind of what we want. But I'd also be a little bit scared to perhaps do anything different if a mission pack DLC, whatever we're calling it, comes out. And that's a bit weird, isn't it? I think it is weird. I'm not wrong in saying that I'm feeling weird about it. Where it shouldn't really matter, and nobody other than ourselves is really caring. I mean, I don't even think Will cares. I think he'd be more than happy to play with badly painted models if I'd done them, not to the level like even I had. But then again, I think having that weird sense of responsibility of, if we're using my stuff, I feel like I've got a responsibility to him to make sure he's experiencing it as well as he could, and almost like a responsibility to the game designers for like thinking this is how they envisioned it. They had a certain, I'm guessing, minimum standard they would assume people play to, and it shouldn't matter because it's the game mechanic, not the actual models. I mean, you could say you could just play it with counters and you'd have the same experience, but I think when something's got a strong story element, that's not the case. And I feel somewhat responsible for Will in that respect, to ensure that, we're using my stuff. I want you to enjoy it. I appreciate you spending your time with me to explore this world that I've put in the effort to get us to at least a reasonable level. And if I don't then do that with the mission packs, if we want to play them, then I feel like I've disappointed or let down Will as a gaming buddy, and in some respect, randomly, the designers, like I say, it's an odd thing, isn't it? And this is perhaps it's a personality trait of mine. I don't know. We can figure it out as we go. But I think it's interesting to talk about stuff like this, because this is not the kind of thing that we normally talk about when we chat on the podcast. Certainly, it's the kind of thing that I've talked about with Will in private before we started doing this and stuff. But again, Let me know what you guys think of stuff like this because I'm genuinely intrigued to understand how other people experience the hobby and this sort of specific question. Right, okay, so all the power packs are pretty much first coat done. So I've gone for like a glowing ready orange and come back in with inks in a moment and then get the airbrush out and start doing a little bit more work on them so we can get some nice OSL in the armor. I'm a little bit concerned about how dark these models are. I think under bright lights, it's going to look fine, but if you've not got bright lights, I don't think these are going to look as good as I feel that I'm getting them. I'm really proud of these. I'm not going to lie. Uh, it's certainly a better look than I was expecting, and I've enjoyed it, which is the main thing. But the one thing that I think it's missing, the one thing I don't like that I've got so far, I'm not gonna lie, is I don't feel there's enough texture on the armor. And I was wondering if I don't need to start kind of just running some liquid green stuff over them, before I start painting Marines, because that's a lot of flat armor panels that sometimes just don't have the presence that I would want them to have, don't have a sense of worldly lived-inness to them, if that makes a sense. They look a lot of the time just like pristine new. And I know you can scar them up with things, and I do often do that, but I think having something a little bit more textural helps a lot, in my opinion. I don't know. Um, I wish they'd sculpt in some more battle damage on everything. I can see why they don't, but it's almost like it's done on purpose, I guess. So it's a blank canvas for you to inject your own look and feel on them, I suppose, isn't it? But sometimes I'm just being lazy, and it's like, I just want to get onto the tabletop as fast as possible. So, you know, I end up not wanting to put that extra layer of effort in there that I know we should do. Well, not should, you can do what you want. The Wardle is at the end of the day, but I definitely perhaps like to put a little bit more in there, but I don't know. Right, how am I gonna do this blendy capey thing? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. So the camo coke. Yes, the camo coke. It's you snort it and you disappear. Yeah, the camo cloak. I am going with this red motif. I think that works best. And I want to blend it down perhaps to what I've got with the. Oh, actually, I know. No, I know. Right, so he's got an undercloak on. Right, so we're going to make the undercloak black. So, like the camo cloak is the outside of it. Yeah. Okay. I didn't notice that before. Oh, did I? Did I? I think no, I'm lying. I did notice it. And I made a mental note, and my mental note as obviously being lost after a week of work messing about. And that has now left my mind. And I did think, yeah, right, do the underneath part. And then you've got something to contrast against. I'll put some pictures of these up in the Discord. So if you've not a member of that, please do join if you want to have a look at what I'm talking about after the show goes live, or perhaps will see he mostly does the Instagram side for us. We'll put some pictures of these up on the Instagram, or you can follow me on Instagram. I'll have some pictures up there as well. So if you don't want to join the Discord or join our Instagram, then you will still see it. So it'll be Forge of Solace is where you will find these pictures. over the next few. When's this going out? This goes out Monday, so you'll see these pretty soon, I'm guessing. Right, I'm happy with that. I'm happy with the way we've gone there. Okay, right. Lenses. Lenses need to happen. Do I want to do the lenses now? No, I'll tell you what, let's do all this first. Also, another question. Right, I know you're not going to be able to be able to answer me in real time. And I don't know why I'm talking to the camera because the mic is literally hanging around my neck. Yeah, I'm still talking to the camera. What I want to do as well is ask you guys, power fists. Do I want my captain to have lightning coming from his power fist? Or do I not? I know people have strong opinions about effects on their models. I'm pro effect. What do you guys think? I think I am going to go with it, but I don't know 100%. Let me know down in the comments on the Discord, wherever you want. What should I have done? I'm pretty certain, guys, we're going with effects. In fact, I'm rooting through my bits box now for some wire. I'm pretty certain I've got some really thin bits of wire somewhere around here that I can use as some type of lightning effect. And here we go, I do. So that's happening then. Let's figure that out together, shall we? And again, I will be putting pictures of this up on the Discord. I'm super excited, guys. I've not done this kind of thing before, where I've talked to people while I've been hobbying in an audio format. Because it doesn't make for particularly great experiences, I don't think. Or does it? Should we do more things like this before? I was thinking it'd be fun to record something with Will where we're actually sitting around painting and just waxing lyrical. I've used that phrase a lot in this episode, haven't I? Or where we're just talking about the hobby and what we're doing as we're doing it. I'm going to try and convince him to do it as a video podcast, though, perhaps. I don't know. Let us know what you think. If that would be something that you would like to see, hear us do. See, hear us do. That's the new way of putting things. Well done, Wayne. I can use words. Yeah, let me know what you think about that. Right, okay. So, these power fists then, or single power fist. We've established we're going to do lightning. Oh, I think we have. Assuming that I am going to do that, which obviously I'm still talking to you at the moment, and you've not heard me do anything. Assuming that I've not done that at this point, what colour then do we have the plasma from the captain's plasma gun? Is an ultramarine, against my better judgment, but you know, it had to be done for the reason I wanted to have mixed marines in there. So I would have normally done everything at Dark Angels, but I wanted to paint a mixture of different marines this time. So what colour then should the plasma gun be on an ultramarine? Considering we've done red. Oh no, wait, I'm being daft, aren't I? It's plasma pistol and power fist. Should we just go then for blue? What do you think? And try and keep it consistent across the model, because then we can have some nice OSL and it will work nicely against the Ultramarines blue armor anyway, won't it? And then what color eyes shall we give said Ultramarine? Thinking about it, aren't we? Come on, let's come up with something. This is going to be pretty much the only two pops of color. I want to go with red eyes. I feel like red eyes makes sense. What do you guys think? Red? Red for the eyes? Anybody? Anybody going to second it? Wonderful. We're going for red for the eyes then. Okay. We're going red eyes on the Ultramarine. We'll go green on the Flesh Terror, and the Blood Angel. We've gone red on the Raven Guard Sniper. And we're going to go green, I think, on the Imperial. No, we're going red on the Imperial Fist, and we're going to go. What color are we going to go on the Space Wolf? Green. Now we're going to go green. No, we're going to go red. We're going to go red. Okay. So other than the Flesh Terror and the Blood Angel, we're going red. It's been decided. Well done, guys. Good conversation. I'm glad we had it. Okay, then. Right. So this is getting to the point where I need to start banging on the airbrush, and that's going to make it particularly difficult to talk to you guys. So in terms of hobby of what I've done this week, this is going to be pretty much the end of this conversation with you guys, because then I will have actually done it. So yeah, good chat. It's been fun. Thank you for the help with everything. It has been appreciated. I've loved chatting to you about it. It's been fun. I think we should do it again. Should we do it again? I don't know. I tell you what, you let me know. Let me and Will know, and we will have further conversations about if we can do this more often. Perhaps not every episode, obviously not every episode, but I think it'd be really good to kind of have more free-flowing hobby chat, because I've got a wodge of stuff up here that I want to talk about, and I will be talking about on my YouTube channel, but there's the other things that I want to talk about as well. I've got a wodge of models that I could take you on the journey with for our exploration into Kill Team. I've got an Invictus Warsuit. I've got a really good idea of what I want to do with. I've got a wodge of Dreadnoughts. I've got Belisarius Call. I've got loads of scenery that I need to get painted for AOS. God, I've got like 3 entire Storm Vaults I'm looking at now. I've got the Sigmarite Mausoleum. All of this stuff that I want to tie into the stuff we're already doing. I need more motivation, guys, to get it done. Give me ideas. What do you want to hear us talk about? I want to talk about it. I just want to talk with you guys about it. I want to talk at Will about things. I want to hear what Will's opinion is. I want to talk about Oliensis. I've had it in my head for the past 3 weeks. Like, why? Why is he a massive humanoid planet? I need to talk to somebody about that. Is that what you want to hear? I don't know. Which type of content is it? Oh my days, I need to stop with the coffee as well. Right. That's it. That's this segment done and out of the way. I'm going to calm down, and then you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go and answer some of the questions you guys have put up on the Discord. So yeah, thanks for sticking with me for the past, I don't know, however long we've been talking, like 45 minutes or something. It's been fun, and I'll catch you back up at the computer. Hopefully this audio's been all right, but if it's not, well, I can't help it, guys. I'm afraid. Sucks, but it is what it is this time. Right, I'll see you on the other side. Right here. So I've jumped on the Discord. I asked some of you guys that are on there for some questions to help me with this episode, and you've done just that. Normally, I would wait for my partner in crime, my friend with Warhammering benefits, Will, but since he's out of action for this one, I'm just going to go ahead and answer some of these myself. So, first question then, and this is one that I think we've kind of had before, but which faction would you want to add to 40k aside from Dark Mechanicum? And I can discuss the likelihood of that too if I want. Well, what other faction would I like to add to 40k? That is a really good question. And I think it's one we've explored a little bit in the past. And I would like another alien race in there. I'd like something more akin to perhaps some of the stuff we saw in previous editions of the lore. So I'm thinking all the way back to Rogue Trader, some of those more interesting and esoteric kind of alien species. The Jakero, I think, would be a really interesting one to have in there. I think as well, perhaps another abhuman species. I think there's almost something missing where, you know, we've got Xenos species that all kind of look the same, don't we? I mean, they're all kind of bipedal, humanoid, or anthropomorphized kind of humans. Even the Nids, in some respect, as we talked about earlier, I think those have elements that make them less alien. So I think something totally alien would be one of the ways that I want to go. This is kind of like the question that we had a little while back where we talked about this kind of thing, but in the AOS setting. So I think for me, yeah, it would be something totally alien. Perhaps even it could be a subfaction of the Nids where we have um more random bioforms in there. I mean, ones that are truly terrifying, more animal like. Perhaps I'm not sure how the mechanic then would play, and I suppose that's what one of the things that they've got to consider, isn't it, when we're playing the game, that the rules kind of have to fit, and it has to be at least somewhat. Um, Possible, I suppose, for you to get an understanding of a unit at a glance, both as a player of said faction and also as an opponent of said faction. I guess this is where we see people painting and modeling for advantage, or in some elements, why you have to make sure that people are painting their models just so that there's some kind of recognition of what that unit is, and it makes it a little bit easier from a visual perspective to be able to play the game in a consistent manner. I do apologize if you can hear a screaming child in the background. I'm recording at home and he's currently in the bath and he's having a really good time with a squirty elephant. And yeah, that is what it is. Perhaps that's what we need in Warhammer, squirty elephants. No. So 40k, what would that be then? It'd be a really random alien species. I'm not sure what it'd be like. Perhaps, in fact, it could be some type of like sea faction. In fact, because we see that in AOS, don't we? We've got Wet Elves, the Deepkin, Ideneth. Granted, they are a subfaction of the elves, but it would be kind of cool to see how that would translate into 40k. But I suppose digging deeper into the lore, and again, this is taking inspiration from AOS, and I suppose there is some parity between 40k and AOS in that I would like to see perhaps the old ones being in here. I think that would be really, really cool. Not necessarily as an entire faction, but I think seeing how, from what I've learned recently, again, thank you to the people in the forum that have informed me of this, how the Seraphon, the old ones, the cold ones, whatever they're called in 40k, um, originally looked. I mean, they're kind of like the forebearers to a lot of the life in the galaxy in that 40k setting. So that I think would be inherently cool, though I'm not entirely sure that it would be possible to kind of balance something that's supposed to be that kind of OP. Perhaps again, then it's a legacy faction that they created. Perhaps if the story evolves in some manner and we find out that they didn't create the Nids and everything else was created to kind of counter the Nids coming into the galaxy. I don't know. I kind of like that idea though, but the other thing that's kind of jumping out at me as well at the moment is I would really like to see um like a body horror chaos faction. And again, I think we talked about this kind of, or we at least touched on it a couple of episodes back. I would love to see like a chaos faction that is an unaligned chaos faction of human or any species. In fact, no, that's what it is. I want to see a mismatch of species. All of them fall into some sort of chaos, not a specific god, but just like mutated. Like they've opened the gates to hell or whatever their version of L is, and they've just become mutated. So like the Chaos Chosen ones that we talked about, that would be really, really cool. Like proper occultist, mental mangled, murderous, um, just vile, weird, mutated, filthy, horrorous kind of models would be great. I would absolutely adore that. And that would really appeal to my mentality. I don't think that's something that we're ever going to see because, to be honest, I can see why they wouldn't want to go down that road. It's just going to be too specifically hardcore for their wider demographic these days. Okay, so let's jump into the next question and yeah, I kind of want to get my kid involved because he sounds like he's going to be in the background of this anyway, and he does sound like he's really having a good time in the bath. So yeah, it does like Warhammer. by the way, but he tends to want to paint everything orange because that's his favorite color. Right. Next question then. So, if I could go, if you could go and start again at any stage in your hobby timeline during your life, what age and time would that be? And what army and models were you collecting? And what was so fun about it? To reiterate and be more simple, what was your most fun time in this hobby? How old were you? And what were you doing in it? And why was it so special? Oh man, that is right. I ain't got a single answer to that, but that is a damn good question. Right. So the first one to answer the first part, what was my most fun time in this hobby? I think that would be right now. I think the past 2 years, certainly since I started hanging out with Will, we met and been playing more. I've had more fun um, playing the game than I ever have throughout my entire career, hobby career, hobby career that is. Um, and that's like a genuine thing that I've got where I I enjoy it. Like Thursday nights, I look forward to immensely. I think having a friend that you get on with to that level is a quite a rare thing where you've got a very similar mentality and what it is that you want to get out of the hobby. And that works. I mean, we've got quite a parity in how we want to approach things. I'm probably a little bit more involved in pushing us in the direction of what it is that we want um, than Will. But that's because I want us to enjoy it. And I specifically want him to enjoy it because I get like my enjoyment from playing with somebody that is as invested. So it kind of works in the manner of it G's me up to kind of paint more, to build more terrain, to kind of come with the ideas of putting things together, so that we have a really good time. And it's kind of really encouraged me as well to start to read more and understand the rule sets so that I can really get us involved in the games at a faster pace than previously when I was either playing casually or just playing with friends, but not on the same sort of regular basis. And I think that for me is where I get the most enjoyment. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love painting as well, but painting with a reason is great. And now that I've painted enough to play pretty much everything it is I want to play, I can go back and I can paint for enjoyment. And I've got somebody that I can kind of share the hobby with. And, we're always texting backwards and forwards. So it's hobbying outside of the isolation, which I think, as we talked about earlier, actually, in when I was hobbying down in the studio, it's one of those things that fun is derivative of having somebody to share it with. And though I've had some fantastic times in the hobby by myself, I think sharing it with other people, sharing it with him, sharing it with you guys, starting the Discord, starting the podcast, starting my YouTube channel, all about it, and having this hobby being pretty much my only hobby. Yes, there are different strands to what it is that I enjoy doing in the hobby, different facets, and almost different disciplines within inside it. That's kind of all brought together by the theme of Warhammer, be it 40k or AOS, and it's allowed me to do things that I'd never thought I would be able to do. In fact, it helped me change career. If I hadn't have started learning to edit videos and record, I wouldn't have pivoted away from being a programmer into doing content creation and learning media creation. That then has led to my career going in a completely different direction now, which is utterly bizarre and just weird to say that all that's come from Warhammer, but it's all come back to the fun that I've had over the past couple of years. Yes, I started making videos way before I met Will. Um, but yeah, I think right now for me is the best time in the hobby. Certainly the most fun, and the time that I'm most grateful for being in the hobby because I've met some fantastic people via Instagram, via uh, people like chat to regularly in the Discord. Um, going to the my FLGS that I visit weekly, chatting to people there, all around this weird hobby that we love to complain about, but we all seem so invested in. It's been crazy, but so much fun. And with everything else going on in the world, I think that's what what we need. And it's odd that something so grimdark can be more um, more inviting than the real world at the moment because it's just getting weirder and weirder and weirder out there. But yeah, so for me, right now is the most fun that I've ever had in the hobby. Okay, so on to the second part of that question then. How old were you and what were you doing in it and why was it so special? That is a good question as well. And it's a second part to this. So after saying now is the most fun I've ever had, um, I think for me, if you've listened to the podcast for a reasonable amount of time, you'll probably heard me talk about when I got back into the hobby initially. So that would have been Rogue Trader 1987. So yeah, I'm a bit of an old heart when it comes to being into Warhammer, and I think it's a bittersweet story. So I was and am an only child, and I didn't have many friends. I was the fat nerdy kid at school, and I was introduced to Warhammer by somebody that I used to hang out with. His elder cousin had picked up Rogue Trader, and I was flicking through the hardback book, 7-year-old Wayne around at his friend's house for tea, and it captivated me. I read some of the pages in there, and yeah, that was my escape from a lot of the crap that was happening in my life at school and the all of that bullying, and that kind of was the background to it for me because I didn't have any siblings. I spent a lot of time, not necessarily alone, but my parents were great with me, encouraging me to do stuff. But I enjoyed reading because certain personality types. I was introverted. I enjoyed fantasy. I enjoyed Dungeons and Dragons. I then found this world of Warhammer, and that young Wayne through the formative years, that for me was probably the most important. I was like a sponge. I absorbed Rogue Trader, um, anything that I could get my hands on from there after into the second edition. And it was so special for me because it was the times now that we're all looking back at everybody. There's this whole retrospective movement, isn't there? So it was nice to be there the first time round, and now it's kind of coming to the front again. Even with the 11th edition, even the box kind of being a homage back to second edition when it came out. I had that launch box. I had the books in it. Um, I was buying each of the codexes with my pocket money as they came out for 40k. So I was learning as much as I could about this fantasy world because it was much better than the world that I had, and the characters that I kind of grew attached to then were almost like friends, along with Batman and Spider Man that I used to devour comics of. Warhammer was something that's always been a huge part of my life. Um, Ever since that 7-year-old Wayne picked up that copy of Rogue Trader and then begged his mum and dad to buy him his own. And I was absolutely gutted when I took it to school and it got stolen. I did manage to get another one later on, and I've just got the reprint a couple of years ago when they released it as well. So I do have that now. Um, but yeah, what was I doing at the time? Well, I was I was 7, so it was I wasn't doing a great deal in terms of the hobby space. I was reading a lot and painting very, very badly. I remember when RTB01 came out, the multi-part Space Marine beaker kits in, like, was it Mark 6 armor? I remember my dad buying me a box of those. I remember where we were. We'd gone for a family day out into Bridlington randomly, and it was there in a model shop. My dad was looking for the Cutty Sark Humbrol model, and yeah, I was like, Dad, 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 and I got that box, and Lo and behold, I started my first Space Marine army, which I painted as the box art was. So that would have been Crimson Fists. And yeah, it kind of went from there. It was fun. I was painting them in Humbrol paints that my dad used for his ships and cars and such. So they looked atrocious, and I probably have some type of lead poisoning. But it was a special time because I was, like I say, I was young. It was just a way of me um, finding myself, figuring out who I was, the things that I liked and enjoyed, and it was, it allowed me a world to live in where it wasn't quite as fun, or not fun, should I say, as going to school and getting physically abused every day by idiots. And it was in the 80s, so not really a lot got done about it. And yeah, so Warhammer was my escape, and always has been, all the way up until till now, really. So yeah, I had a little bit of a break from it, but it was fantastic. It was a good time to explore that, and obviously all of the great kits were coming out, and it was just so rich. It was a universe that I never thought would still be going at this point, and that is one of the reasons that I still love it. And I think now being the fun time to come back to the first part of the question, I think because the universe has been such a huge part of my life for 39 years at this point. I'm 46 now. I started when I was 7. Um, and that's why now is the most fun time. I've met amazing people. That world is still going on, and it just keeps getting better and better and better, and annoyingly more expensive. But such is life. We can't complain too much about that. So yeah, this world that we're playing, that we enjoy, is, yeah, fantastic. That was a really good question. I hope that wasn't too much of a melancholy answer, but that answers the question. I'm just being open and honest about it. It wasn't the best childhood in terms of schooling. Luckily, I did all right, and I kind of figured it all out. So yeah, right. Okay. So another question then. Also, if Games Workshop suddenly stopped all production of AOS and you had to pick another game system to start, what would it be and why? Trench Crusade. There you go. Simple answer. 100% would be Trench Crusade. It may still be Trench Crusade. They may not pull AOS, and depending what happens with with this coalescence of the world into whatever it is they're doing, if they do it, then who knows? But yeah, Trench Crusade. I absolutely love what they've done with that. I think for me, what I don't like about it is the name. I can't get away from that. I'm not sure on the gaming system. I've never actually played it. I love some of the models. Some of them I'm not there for entirely. I don't like the first slash early Second World War aesthetic of some of the war bands, clans, whatever they're called in that game. But what I do love is the overall look and style of the artwork. From what I know of the story and the universe it's set in, they have not shied away from what it is that I like, which is that grim dark aesthetic. I'm going to stop saying that because if you listen to the show at this point, chances are you probably listened to enough of it to know that I like the dark stuff more than the whimsical, happy clappy, so like hooray, high fantasy stuff. I like that dark, grey kind of hellish, war torn aesthetic look, um, feeling, I suppose, for anything. And I think Trench Crusade gives me that. The only reason that I've really not picked it up is I think because of the amount of time that I have to devote to the hobby, which is granted pretty much all of my spare time, that is still limited, and I need somebody to play it with. And I just don't have the bandwidth at the moment to pick up another gaming system, even for the lore, and start to immerse myself in that and keep the current stuff in my head. Um, but I would love to get hold of the rule book. I would really like to have that just in my collection. I think it would be fantastic. And that would be absolutely something that I would like to do. I think as well, another answer to this would be Dungeons and Dragons, or at least some type. No, it'd be Dungeons and Dragons. I think because it's open enough that it would allow me to put my own inflection on there. And I did play Dungeons and Dragons for a number of years, probably from being like 13 up to 25, 26. I was playing fairly regularly. And then in my late 20s, nah, no, yeah, yeah, but I picked it back up in the late 20 in my late 20s, um, up until pretty much when I met my wife, and then I stopped playing them because the group kind of disbanded as such. So I played a lot of early fifth edition as well, and I really enjoyed that. I think I would go a little bit more to town on it, but it's one of those games that the campaigns are too closed for me. And I know you can make your own modules up and stuff, but I don't know. It's never had the same level of grit and darkness. Even when I've played under really great dungeon masters that I have just been amazing lore keepers, it's never had that same level of immersion for me as the Warhammer lore. So yeah, probably Trench Crusade, or at a pinch, Dungeons and Dragons, or some type of RPG game setting with a nice miniature line, perhaps, or even something that's not just a game, and I could just get involved in painting miniatures to a higher standard than I do for gaming. Would appease me, but I think having that background, that lore, that universe, the world building, that's something that I absolutely need to kind of figure out life in general. You know, it's a form of escapism for me. So having that robust universe is fantastic. And it's been the background conversation to quite a few chats I've had with Will. In fact, like as we know, we're both into Star Wars, hugely into Star Wars, and Lord of the Rings. And I love those universes, but I don't ever want to spend too much time in those universes because for me, those stories are linear stories. The universes for me certainly are closed with inside of those stories. It's being told, it's being fleshed out to the point where in my head I don't really have anywhere to go with the scope of those stories and explore them any further. And I don't really want to. I think what I need to get from them is already being done. Whereas there's no real main characters in Warhammer or um, Trench Crusade, to my understanding. The world is the main character, as it were, and that's kind of what I like. That everything is almost balanced to perfection. And that, yes, granted, perhaps not in the gaming sense, but in terms of coming it from the lore, the humans are obviously the main character in the perspective that all books and things tend to be written, or the majority of them written from that perspective. But realistically, you can play as any of the factions and they can be the main character in that story of the universe or the galaxy and how it's panning out over the time frame that we're playing in. So yeah, that was a good few questions. I enjoyed answering those. And there was a very odd one from from a while. Nah, never mind. We won't go into that. We definitely won't get into that question. So yeah, I think those are all of the questions that have been asked at the moment, and I really enjoyed answering those. So hopefully you've found that interesting, to say the least. Perhaps I don't know. I don't know if you will. Thanks for getting involved. I do appreciate it. If you've got any more questions, smash them into the Discord or send them via email, feelnopainpodcast@gmail.com. Jump on the Discord, links in the description, obviously. Or you can follow us over on Instagram as well. Feel No Pain Podcast. Do that and send us a message with anything that you've got in terms of questions that you would potentially like us to answer. They don't have to be serious, they can be daft. I think Will would be much better at answering the daft questions, and I'll go with more serious ones because, yeah, the grimmer and darker, the better for me. Okay, I'm going to leave this section and jump into the next one, whatever that may be. I don't know right now yet. We'll figure that out as we go, shall we? Perhaps I don't know, but we'll see. Right, I'm gonna get a drink. BRB, guys. And I think I'm going to call that one done here, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it was a little bit strange just having me talk to you this time, but we'll be back indeed on the next episode. And yeah, it's been a difficult one having nobody to bounce off of, and I didn't realize how hard this was going to be, to be honest. But hopefully, you've had a little bit of insight, at least into what's going on, what I'm working on at the moment, and my opinions on art and Tyranids and all of the other things. Thank you for the questions. As always, if you do feel like you want to give us a review, um, comments, like, subscribe, shares, all of that good stuff, if you could leave a review over on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, that really helps. If you want to reach out to us, you can send us an email at feelnopainpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on all of the social medias other than TikTok. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one. Until then, see ya.